Hello there, and welcome to this episode of Happy Birthday Wellness Quiz, Day 164, your health promotion and disease prevention podcast brought to you by Kike Afya. My name is Subirio Bogo. I'm a medical doctor and specialist in public health medicine. In this episode, we're going to discuss how to use exchange lists for counting carbohydrates in a patient with diabetic. Now, this is something that if you're living with diabetes, you should be able to do it yourself. So here is a quiz for which I will share the answer at the end. So one carbohydrate exchange equals A, 15 grams of carb, B, 10 grams of carb, C, 30 grams of carb, or D, 45 grams of carb. Now, in terms of controlling blood sugar using diet, there are three very important principles. The first principle is you need to know how many calories you are consuming per day. Now, this differs from person to person, and it depends on things like whether I want to lose weight or not, as well as how active I am. I won't get into the details of how to determine calories, but we'll discuss that in subsequent episodes. The second thing is to ensure that those calories are distributed throughout the day. That means eating 3 meals 4 to 6 hours apart, and do not skip a meal. Now, you can also incorporate snack in between as long as it's within the calorie requirement for the day. The third principle is the type of carbohydrates. You want to focus on complex carbohydrates, which are rich in fiber and starches. For example, whole wheat bread, whole wheat chapatis or mandazis, as well as things like maize meal, which is made from whole grains, millet and sorghum, as opposed to simple carbohydrates and sugars such as refined wheat flour or white bread, white chapati, white ugali, or things like fruit juices, which contain simple carbs. So now let's assume you are on a 2000 calorie diet, and I want to know how many carbs, protein, and fat you should consume. As a general rule, majority of your calories should come from carbohydrates. That's 55%. 25% should come from fat, and 20% should come from protein. So on a 2000 calorie diet, for me to know how many calories should come from carbs, I multiply 55% of 2000. That gives me 1100 calories. Now, we want to get this into grams, and we know that 1 gram of carbohydrates is equal to 4 calories. So divide this by 4. That gives us 275 grams of carbohydrates. It's important to work with grams because it's easy to convert this into food servings. For example, 1 teaspoon of sugar is 5 grams of carbohydrates. A third a cup of cooked rice is 15 grams of carbohydrates. 1 small apple is 15 grams of carbohydrates, and so on, as we shall see using the exchange lists. So the benefit of counting carbs is carbs in diet increase blood sugar the most compared to other nutrients. So counting carbs helps you to keep control of your blood sugar. It helps to balance food and medication, and to manage your food portions to control body weight. So in fact, this technique can be used in anyone who wants to lose weight. Other determinants of blood sugar include physical activity level, disease status, stress, as well as medication. So different ways of counting your carbohydrates, protein, and fats. But in this episode, we'll be discussing exchange lists. I'll discuss these other ones in subsequent episodes. So what is carbohydrate counting using exchange lists? The exchange list was the basis of meal planning developed by the American Diabetic Association and the American Dietetic Association. And basically an exchange list puts food with similar amount of carbohydrates, protein, fats, and per serving are grouped together. The foods include broad categories of carbs, meat and meat substitute, as well as fats. So about 6 groups, that is starches, things like bread, meat, non-starchy vegetables, fruits, milk, and fats. So remember, all the foods in each of these groups will contain the same amount of carbohydrates, protein, fats, and calories per serving. So one carbohydrate exchange is about 15 grams of carbohydrates. So for example, a cup of cooked rice, 1 slice of bread, 3 teaspoons of table sugar, 1 small banana, 1 cup of low-fat milk, 1% fat, or 3/4 of a cup of cornflakes. Each of these has 50 grams of carbohydrates, and that's what we call one carbohydrate exchange. Now the beauty of this system is that you can actually trade off. You can exchange foods within each list and still end up with the same amounts of carb. So let's look at our page. For example, assume I'm supposed to take 45 grams of carbohydrates for breakfast. I can choose to take 1 slice of bread, 1 cup of milk tea, and 1 small banana. That gives me 45. I can decide to take cornflakes, milk, and banana. That still gives me 45. I can decide to take a cup of tea, that is 15 grams, plus 1 tablespoon of sugar, that's about 5 grams, and then 3 slices of bread. So you can just play around with the foods as long as you don't go beyond your limit. There's good distinction between a serving and a portion. Exchange system lists carbohydrate servings, but one can consume more than 1 exchange serving of a particular food. So the amount of food that you plan to eat is called a portion. So for example, I can decide to consume 3 slices of bread, or I can decide to consume 3 cups of rice. Okay, so that's what you call a portion. But remember, if you consume more of something, you must eliminate something else so that you don't go beyond your limit of carbohydrates. There's good distinction between servings for starchy vegetables and non-starchy vegetables. Half a cup cooked of starchy vegetables, which is the same as 1 cup raw, is 15 grams of carbs. However, half a cup cooked of non-starchy vegetables, or 1 cup raw of non-starchy vegetables, is 5 grams of carbohydrates. What are the examples of such vegetables? Things like corn, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, green peas, beets, butternut squash, carrots, and green beans. Non-starchy vegetables include things like black olives, purple cabbage, eggplant, asparagus, red peppers, tomatoes, and things like summer squash. Now this is an example of exchange lists for carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and calories. Now, I want you to note a few things. We talked about groups. Okay, there is the starch group, fruit group, milk group, non-starchy vegetables, meat and substitute, and then plant. So we said each group contains the same amount of carbohydrate per serving. So you can see for this here, the carbohydrate group, each of these contains 15 grams of carb. That is 1 slice of bread or 1 small apple. If you look at milk group, 1 cup of skim milk, 1 cup of reduced fat milk, and 1 cup of whole milk contain 12 grams of carb. The same milk types contain 8 grams of protein. If you look at the meats, this category of meats, including black beans, ground beef, cheese, for this serving will give you 7 grams of carbohydrates. Now this column gives you the calories. Now how do you get the calories? Well, let's look at the starch, the slice of bread. Now 15 grams of carb, we say that 1 gram of carbohydrates has 4 calories. So 1 times 4 is 60. 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. So 3 times 4 gives us 12. And 1 gram of fat has 9 calories. 1 times 9 gives us 9. If you add up 60 plus 12 plus 9, it's about 81 calories. So remember, we normally start from calories to grams, but you can still work back from grams back to calories. So let's look at an example of a meal. This is a 12-calorie meal plan using carbohydrate exchanges. Now, if you look here, total carbohydrates here are coming to about 160 carbohydrates per day. And you said 1 gram of carb has 4 calories. That means this is 640 calories in total. So the question is, where are the other calories? The other calories are coming from proteins and fats. But here we're just going to look at the proteins alone. So remember we said 1 carbohydrate exchange is 15 grams. So we have, for breakfast here, we have 1 starch, we have 1 fruit, and we have 1 carbohydrate exchange for milk. Now, this small banana is a fruit, 15 grams. 3/4 cup of cornflakes. This is giving us the starch, 1 carbohydrate serving, and then the cup of fat-free milk is giving us 1 exchange, 15 grams. Now 3 times 15 gives you 45 grams. So remember, if you maintain this in terms of your eating plan, your blood sugars are stabilized without having so many fluctuations. And if you're looking to lose weight also, then it's easier to lose weight. The same thing happens for lunch, snack, and dinner. So that's how you work out into a meal plan. So back to our quiz. 1 carbohydrate exchange equals, we said 15 grams. Remember, the exception is non-starchy vegetables, whereby 1 serving is about 5 grams. But if you look at the exchange list table, they will usually specify that. So thank you very much for listening. This podcast was brought to you by Kike Afya. My name is Subiri Obogo. I'm a medical doctor and specialist in public health medicine. We rely on well wishers to bring you this podcast. You can support us by liking, commenting, sharing. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you want to support us in other ways, we have an M-Pesa till number 766-500 and a mobile number 0720 95 82 50. Until next time, bye bye.